In 2015, Julius Yego became the world javelin champion. He threw his javelin almost 100 meters. Julius has an extraordinary story. He grew up in Kenya without much money, so when he became interested in the javelin, he learned how to make his own spears from branches from trees. There were no javelin teachers in the whole country, but somehow Julius became a champion. Let's find out how. Over 20 years ago, researchers made an amazing discovery about neurons. Exercise helps new neurons grow.
That's because when you exercise, your brain makes a chemical called BDNF. That's short for brains definitely need food. Actually, BDNF stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. But that's not as catchy. Trophic is a word that means growth. BDNF is like a food for your neurons. It makes them strong and healthy. It also helps them to connect more easily with other neurons. Here's a picture of dendritic spines that have been exposed to BDNF. Wow, what a difference. See how those big dendritic spines are? Exercise is healthy not only for your body, but also for your brain. Exercise can help you make better brain links. Not only does exercise boost learning, a healthy diet can also help with learning. Eating healthy means adding a variety of fruits and vegetables to your diet. Vegetables from the onion and cabbage family contain chemicals that keep away all sorts of diseases, from diabetes to cancer. Fruits of all colors are also great. Dark chocolate is very good for you, but choose chocolate with low sugar. And avoid eating chocolate later in the day because it can interfere with your sleep. Nuts are also great. A handful of nuts a day can nicely round out your diet. Avoid fake foods. These include highly processed foods like French fries, chips, chicken nuggets, and anything with lots of sugar or white flour in it, like donuts. I gave up soft drinks a long time ago, and I especially avoid high fructose corn syrup, which is the main ingredient and sweetener in soft drinks, and many other processed foods. Fruit juices are much better for your brain.
Let's come back now to javelin champion Julius Yego. If he didn't have a great coach or all the advantages of a richer country, how could he keep improving? For one thing, Julius exercised, which is part of how he was able to learn effectively. He also watched his diet. But there's one more thing. You might be surprised to learn that Julius became a champion by watching lots of YouTube videos of javelin throwing. He would watch a video and then try it himself. Julius's story is inspiring. It also emphasizes an important idea. You don't necessarily need to learn in school from a teacher. You can teach yourself by using the internet and other resources. Practice and feedback are key. Next, let's learn about how some of your worst traits can be some of your best traits. I'm Barb Oakley.
I'm Greg Hammonds.
And I'm Terry Sinofsky.
We and Arizona State University wish you happy learning. I remember how hard it was sometimes in school when I was growing up. Speedy learners with race cars for brains could answer questions quickly, while I would find myself struggling to understand what the teacher was even talking about. If you learn more slowly than others, I've got a nice surprise for you. You can do just as well, sometimes even better than fast learners. How? You'll see. In this video, we're going to talk about learning surprises. Sometimes what you believe about learning just isn't true. Take video games, for example. People often think they're bad for you, but some types of video games can actually be helpful for your learning.
Research shows that action video games can build your ability to focus attention. When you play an action video game, your mental mouse runs up and down an important central brain path. It's the focus path in your brain, and it gets wider the more you use it. It's not only action video games that are helpful. Games like Tetris can build your spatial ability to mentally rotate things in your mind's eye. This is an important skill in math and science. The downside to video games is that, like many other things, it can be addictive. Common sense and moderation are key.
And if you're into action-style games, introduce them to your parents and grandparents. Yes, research shows that action-style video games can help improve people's ability to focus and concentrate, even while they're older. I'll give you another learning surprise. Students who write their notes out by hand do better than those who type them. Why? Handwriting is slower than typing. Because it's slower, handwriting forces you to catch the key ideas. The process of figuring out key ideas starts to pull out dendritic spines, which helps you to start a set of brain links. If you review your notes one last time, not long before you go to sleep, you can nudge your dendritic spines to grow even better. Remember, just before you go to sleep, it's time to take a glance at the ideas to get them back in your mind, not time to do the actual studying.
Here's another learning surprise. Remember your friendly attentional octopus? That is, your working memory? Some people have fantastic octopuses with 8 or even more arms and incredibly sticky tentacles. People like this can easily hold a lot in their working memory. Nice. But a smaller working memory can also give advantages. People with only 3 arms on their attentional octopus can't hold a lot in mind very easily. To think about complex ideas, they have to create helpful brain links. These brain links help them to see elegant shortcuts that wouldn't occur to the person with a strong working memory.
This is why a hardworking person with a limited working memory can be a valuable study partner or to have on your team. They can hit upon simple but elegant insights that others miss. They can also be great at exploring complex ideas in simple ways.
More than that, people with poor working memories can be very creative. Research shows that when one thought slips from mind, another pops in. People with challenges with their ability to focus, like those with ADHD, can be particularly creative. You can think about it this way. Both the race car driver and the hiker get to the finish line. They just do it at different speeds. For the race car brain person, the scenery passes in a blur as they speed through their thinking. The hiker brain person, on the other hand, can reach out and touch the leaves on the trees, hear the birds singing, smell the pine in the air, and see the little rabbit trails. Oddly enough, this means that in some ways the hiker brain can see more deeply than the race car brain.
People can have hiker brains in some subjects and race car brains in other subjects. That's perfectly normal. Whenever you find yourself showing a hiker brain and taking more time to learn, be happy. You can still get to the finish line. In some ways, you can learn more deeply and see more creatively precisely because it takes you longer to learn. On the other hand, if you have a race car brain about a subject, you can also be happy because learning will go swiftly for you. But you'll also need to be careful not to jump to conclusions and avoid being overconfident. We'll talk more about this later. Next, we'll move on to one of the most important videos, how to prepare for tests. I'm Barb Oakley.
I'm Greg Hammonds.
And I'm Terry Sinofsky.
We and Arizona State University wish you happy learning.
You are watching this video because tests matter. But to make the best use of this video, you need to make sure you've watched our previous videos first. Skipping to the end without doing the preliminary work is one reason people can find tests difficult. Ready? Let's dive in. This handy test prep checklist will do a lot to help you be in the best shape you can be when test day rolls around. All you need to do is whatever it takes to be able to answer yes to most of these questions. Did you get a good sleep the night before the test? If not, then your answers to the rest of the questions may not matter. Did you review your notes from class not long after you took them? Did you use recall during your review? Did you study some on most days instead of waiting until the last minute? Did you do your best to avoid distractions during your studies, except when you were taking a break? Did you avoid too much underlining and highlighting of your textbook or notes? Did you create a set of brain links of important concepts and problems by actively practicing them and recalling them? Did you get help when necessary by talking to your teachers or other students when you were having trouble? Did you avoid lazy learning? That is, did you spend some of your study time focusing on material you found to be harder? Did you explain key ideas to yourself and to others using funny metaphors and images? Did you study in different places? Did you take occasional breaks from your studies that included some physical activity? The more yes you responded, the better your preparation for the test.
What about during the test itself? Are there techniques that can help? Yes. One of the best is the hard start approach. To use this technique, you begin the test by quickly looking it over. Make a little tick mark by the hardest problems. Next, pick one of those hard problems and get to work on it. Yep, a hard problem. But only work on this problem a minute or two, just until you begin to feel you're getting stuck. At that point, stop. Then look for an easier problem. The easier problem will help reboost your confidence. If you want, you can do yet another easy problem. Now it's time to go back to the hard problem. You'll be surprised. You can often make progress on it.
The hard start technique works because it allows you to use your brain in two different ways at the same time, a kind of dual core processor. When your focus mode is working on an easier problem, your diffuse mode is working in the background on others, the harder problems. Once you get used to the hard start technique, you'll find that you can sometimes have several hard test questions going at the same time, simmering in the background, while you work an easier problem.
You can use the hard start technique for both tests and homework. One of the most valuable aspects of this technique is that it helps you to practice disconnecting and then moving on to the problems you can solve. Disconnecting can be one of students' biggest challenges on tests. You can run out of time even though there were other, easier problems you could have solved. Tests can be stressful. Surprisingly, these stressful feelings can help you do better on the test. Here's a trick. When you feel anxious, try to shift your perspective. Instead of thinking, this test makes me nervous, substitute the thought, this test has me excited to do my best.
A last word of advice. When you get nervous, you can end up breathing from the upper part of your chest. This is shallow breathing, and it doesn't give you enough oxygen. You can end up panicking, not because of the test, but because you aren't getting enough oxygen. Deep breathing can prevent this problem. To do deep breathing, put one hand on your belly. Your hand should move when you breathe. In the days before a test, stand sideways in front of a mirror. Try deep breathing out for 30 seconds or so you get used to it.
I'm Barb Oakley.
I'm Greg Hammonds.
And I'm Terry Sinofsky.
We and Arizona State University wish you happy learning. And here we are, our very last video together.
Remember Santiago Ramon y Cajal? He was the troublemaker who became a great scientist. Santiago won the Nobel Prize even though he was no genius. In fact, Santiago often had trouble while doing his research. His memory wasn't very good and he couldn't learn very fast. But we now know that Santiago's learning challenges also gave him advantages that sometimes help him do even better than geniuses. And Santiago did still more.
But right now, we want to congratulate you. What you've learned in these videos will help you for the rest of your life. We've shared a lot together, and you've also put up with a lot of our zany metaphors. Don't forget them.
Now, it's your turn. Share what you've discovered about learning in these videos. Tell these ideas to your friends, or your brother, sister, cousin, even your parents and teachers.
You can make up funny stories, draw pictures, and do stage plays. Explain what neurons and brain links are and how they help your learning. You'll remember lessons better by teaching them, and you'll help others at the same time. Let's return to Santiago Ramon y Cajal. He admitted he wasn't a genius. So what was his magic? How did he become a successful learner? There are 3 keys. First, Santiago kept his options open. Originally, art was his passion, but he realized he had boxed himself in by thinking he could only do one thing. He expanded his passion to include math and science. So, be like Santiago as you grow up. You don't want your options to be too narrow. The world is becoming more complicated. We need people with broad skills and interests. If you like math, learn to paint or to play a musical instrument. If you like psychology, learn some physics. It's great to learn one topic really well, but you also want to broaden your passions.
Second, Santiago was persistent. When he decided to learn math, he went back to the basics. Slowly, he worked his way upwards. It was hard, but he just kept at it. Persistence is key in learning. But remember that persistence doesn't mean working away without stopping. It means that after you've taken diffuse mode breaks, you keep returning to your work.
Third, Cajal was flexible. Race car brain learners can be right more often than others, but this also creates a trap. Some super smart learners can end up jumping to conclusions. When they've made an incorrect conclusion, it can be hard for them to admit it and to correct it because they're not used to making mistakes. Since Cajal wasn't a genius, he got a lot of practice correcting mistakes. When Cajal became a scientist, he actually looked for ways to find out whether he was right or wrong. When he was wrong, he changed his mind.
A flexible approach that allows you to admit and correct your errors is the kind of approach that can allow you to do great work of any kind. It can also help you lead a successful, happy life at work with your colleagues and at home with your friends and family.
If you are a genius, we hope you've still gotten some useful ideas to help your learning from these videos. If you're not a genius, it's still okay. You have much to share. You can use the strategies and techniques in these videos to open new doors for yourself and for others. Remember, you're never alone in your learning. Using your mind's eye, you can see us walking on your mental mouse paths beside you. We're cheering you on as you learn. I'm Barb Oakley.
I'm Greg Hammonds.
And I'm Terry Sinofsky.
We and Arizona State University wish you happy learning.